Hey mama, come in, grab a drink. Oh my God, what a week. I have had the best week of my life. I have spent the entire weekend doing just fun activities. I went to Mardi Gras on Saturday night. Mardi Gras is just, I haven't been in many, many years because I haven't been since before having my kids. 6, 7 years ago, I was pregnant with my 6, 7, I was pregnant with my daughter 7 years ago. And before that, I went once to Mardi Gras, absolutely loved it. Anyway, got the chance to go again this year. And oh my gosh, the vibe, the mood, the love, it's just the best, the absolute best. And to be honest with you, my honest opinion is the parade is probably the least exciting part of it. The parade is fun, but it's just the atmosphere, the people, and just an entire group of people that are gathering purely for love. Just the best. Then I went to Bad Bunny's concert. If you know, you know. If you were there, you know. I have literally cried. This is so dramatic. I was very moved by the Bad Bunny concert. We can't even call it a concert. Can we just call it an experience? Because I don't think I've ever been to a concert like it, and I don't really want to go to a concert again because there will be no experience that tops the Bad Bunny concert in Sydney. Oh my gosh. I get emotional still because it's not just a singer with, great like pyrotechnics and fireworks and lasers and all that stuff. It's not that. It's the messaging. Yeah, there's a lot of, I don't know, fun stuff as well, but at the core of it is love, is kindness. He's spreading just through his art, through his music, just the deep message that love conquers everything. And I left there feeling so hopeful, especially when the world is in such turmoil at the moment. I left there feeling so hopeful. I was extremely lucky. I have to mention my parents. My mum spent one night alone with my two kids. I had a sleepover at her house. Then the second night my dad was there for as well. And I could not have obviously had any of this fun without my parents. So they're amazing. But oh my God, I had a pocket of time to feel like me and it filled my cup and my cup is now overflowing. So how was your week? I hope you had an amazing week too. Welcome to today's episode. Let's chuck on a movie for the kids. Gather round because I want to talk. I wish this was wine. I poured myself a water. I've been seeing a naturopath lately because I just want to get my health into gear. Things are moving. I'm prioritizing myself a bit more. And she's like, your water intake. I try. I really try. I think I try. Then I get to the end of the day. I'm like, oh shit, I like had 2 glasses. So no, this is not wine. I wish maybe next episode it will be a wine. Maybe we can buy a bottle and share it. That would be nice. I just wanted to talk about the fact that I have been on an insane journey over the past few months. And I feel like a whole new woman, and I have felt immense growth during that time. And the funny thing is that I've not necessarily been intentional about the growth at all. It's kind of been a bit incidental, which I think is amazing. I have managed to squeeze into my life the ability to prioritize the things that I have been wanting to do forever. It's not like I didn't have a sense of purpose before. Obviously, my kids bring me immense amount of purpose and I love them like crazy. They're my world, obviously. But now I feel like I'm fulfilling little bits of me that feel more me than ever. And it's not intentional, like I said, but there's something massive that's shifted in me, particularly in the last, let's say, 2 months. And that's that I'm spending my time being creative. And I've always been a bit of a creative person, but I've never kind of allowed myself to really prioritize that or dig deep. I've always, I guess, appreciated it from afar. Now, going through this process, to my core, I believe that we are all some way creative. We're all creative in one way or another. And I think it just drops off the radar for us, to be honest, when life gets in the way, when work becomes a priority, when we have kids, when we can't necessarily see the obvious value of prioritizing the things we like to do, especially our creative pursuits. But I really believe that we all have it in us. And I really believe that when we spend time on our creative interests, a different part of us comes out. I've never really known what I wanted to do career-wise. Growing up, I never really, look, there was a time, please don't hold this against me. There was a time when I was a kid, for a very long time actually, that I thought it'd be really fun to become a professional thief, like a professional pick. Have I mentioned this before? Yeah, I wanted to become a professional pickpocket because I was like, that's actually that's just a very skillful thing to be able to do. I am opposed to it now, so don't get any wrong ideas. But aside from that, I really didn't know what I wanted to do with my life in terms of career. Since I was basically 17 or 18, I've always worked in the disability sector, and basically that was kind of a bit of a default position for me. I've always loved doing what I've done always. I've got a brother with a disability. I grew up around disability. It was something I knew and I was passionate about. I've always wanted to work in a space where I can make a difference. And I've always been, I would say, quite good at what I did. But it was also just a very safe place to be, and not necessarily something that, if you asked me, what do you want to do for the rest of your life? I wouldn't say, yep, that's it. Like, that's where I want to be forever. Truthfully, I kind of feel like I've had a sense of obligation, if I'm honest, around doing something that is helpful to others, doing something that kind of gives back, quite charitable. It almost sounds a bit martyrish now that I'm saying it. Yeah, I think there is that sense of obligation. I don't know why, or there has been for a long time, and it definitely got in the way of me considering any creative type of work or creative pursuits. I have always had it in this weird sense in me that anything fun or creative was maybe for my next life. I think I mentioned it the other day, like this idea of like, wouldn't that be amazing, but just maybe for my next life. Interior design, my God, I was obsessed with it for such a long time, just as a bystander. Honestly, I would watch videos about it. The number of times I looked up interior design school, and I just was like, that would be a dream. Anyway, maybe, maybe never. Like, I don't know why. I just don't know why. I just always had this belief that it was just not for me. So yeah, I've never really known what I wanted to do. And also, I'm very much of the opinion that I think it's fantastic if you can see a job as a job for the purpose of earning a living. I think that's great, because your entire life's purpose doesn't have to be that. If you find fulfillment in employment that is something you enjoy doing, something that, makes a living and that allows you to afford to have a family, allows you to afford to have a lifestyle that you like, there is nothing wrong with that. For generations and generations, people have operated farms. And I think that's amazing. I love the idea of like a family business that just gets carried over, as long as no one feels obligated to do it and misses out on, they happen to have a dream that they want to fulfill career wise, and that stops them from being able to do it. I think that is a bit toxic, I guess. But to have a family business that just keeps running while people fulfill their own personal goals on the side, I think that is fantastic. So I think there's nothing wrong with what I'm trying to say is, I don't think that your choice of career or your choice of employment has to be your life's purpose. But I never really explored alternatives to my life's purpose. So yeah, lately I guess I've been on this journey of thinking that I'm finding who I am. And for a very long time, I felt like I had lost myself in motherhood. I lost who I was. I lost my sense of identity and all that kind of stuff in motherhood. And I still think to a degree that's massively true. But I think there's more to it. I think there's two things, right? I think one, there is losing the person that you were before having a baby. And the other thing is really losing the opportunity to pursue the person that you want to be. So what the first one is, you're losing the characteristics that were you and all that kind of stuff. The second one is actually what you're losing is the opportunities, the lifestyle that you had, or the decisions that you were able to make, that you were making before, which were allowing you to become the person you want to be. And I feel like that's probably where we get lost. I think a lot of us kind of have this sense of grief over our pre-baby self. And when we think back to the things that we were doing before, we miss that version of ourselves that we're not in touch with anymore. From the moment we become a mum, so much changes that we can't control. And now we're responsible for the life of another human, right? So because of that, our day entirely centers around someone else's needs. And our day used to entirely center around our own. We were able to be selfish individuals. And selfish, I'm not using it in a bad way. I'm just saying we were able to be completely self-centered. Our lives completely revolved around our own needs. We used to be able to choose to sleep in because we've had a big night, or because we stayed up late studying, for something, or because we're jet lagged because we traveled, or we were able to make that decision about when to wake up. Now you don't have the choice to sleep in, do you? The baby gets up regardless of how your night was, caused by them, by the way, caused by another human, you still don't have the choice. I don't have a newborn anymore. I have a 3-year-old and a 6-year-old. I still don't have a say about when I get up in the morning. That doesn't change for me. They will get up, and when they want to get up, I'm up. I'm responsible. I'm a parent. When you first have a baby, everything about your day-to-day changes because there's just so much to learn about caring for this creature. Your entire day is consumed by their needs, keeping your baby healthy, keeping your baby well, keeping your baby thriving, developing and managing everything around that, planning ahead, the laundry, shopping for supplies, making sure that, you've got enough clothes for the baby, making sure that, obviously the room is tight, like the place is clean and hygienic enough for a baby to, let's say, crawl around or whatever it might be, sterilizing bottles and dummies and pumps and all that stuff. Your entire world rotates around or circulates around these needs that the baby has. Not to mention the rotation of the clothes in a wardrobe, which is such a thing that people don't realize happen. Like, did you ever realize how much time you would spend in your kid's wardrobe pulling out, okay, the 000s don't fit anymore. Let's go to the 20s. What are we going to do with these? Are they, I don't know, maybe I overthink things, but I'm like, is this memorabilia? Am I going to pass this on to someone else in my family who ends up having a baby? Or is this something that's ready to go to be donated? Is it too stained or too damaged like the entire decision-making process over the baby's clothes is a whole task in itself, honestly. And that doesn't stop. I'm still doing that for my 6-year-old. I'm still doing that for my 6-year-old. And it's just like I have got never ending bags to give away, to donate. I've got certain people in mind for certain, of their clothes. There are things that I'm like, oh, I don't really want to part with this. But the older they get, the more I'm like, I can't. My memorabilia box cannot keep growing because by the time they're 20 will be like, I just can't. I've got to be really ruthless. And I have a thing about memorabilia as well. I feel like the longer you hold on to something, the more value it gets, which makes it much harder to let go of. So I feel like sometimes you just have to bite the bullet and go. And the Marie Kondo, thank you for all the good times and off you go. Because I don't know, I've done that with my kids' drawings. I've done that with my kids' clothes, their first, like my daughter's first pair of school shoes, her first school shoes ever. They're scuffed beyond belief, beyond repair. I couldn't fix them. They're now too small for her, obviously. And I can't get rid of them. They would go in the bin because they can't be fixed. I feel so sad to do that. But then I'm like, had I done that on the last day of kindy, that decision would be done and I would, anyway, whatever. Like, it's just too much. So that's a whole other chore in itself, what to do with the baby's stuff. It is honestly all consuming. And this all takes up the space in your life that you used to spend on other things. And that's the thing that I feel like that's where a lot of our sense of identity goes, right? It's not that having a baby fills up all this free time that you had. You're not still doing the things that were you plus a baby, not in most cases anyway. A baby takes up the time that you were using on other stuff, that you were, that time you were spending on leisure, on feeling accomplished, on working towards your goals, on taking the time to feel good, to look good, to do exercise, to see friends. That's the time that time is now being spent on a baby and all the tasks that are connected. Honestly, I believe that if we existed in village-like structures, though, then this would be a slightly different conversation, because I think we would all coexist in such a way that what is consuming our worlds now when we have a baby or when we have children would be firstly shared, second, it wouldn't take up all of our time because we would coexist, right? And I honestly think, but just by coexisting, our social cup would naturally be full. There'd be no question about our social cup being full. But again, we would just have more time to do the things that we were doing pre-baby. Having a baby, I don't think would fill up our entire day as much as it does now, because that would be a shared responsibility. The village mentality or the village-like structure actually, or the absence of it actually makes this like I lost my previous self sense much, much harder, much stronger. When we became mums, we instantly lost the free time we once had. We lost the ability to be spontaneous and just be like, hey, let's just catch up. Let's go for a walk. Let's go for a bush walk. Let's go do this. It's the spontaneity's gone, right? I don't remember the last time I went for a bushwalk. I actually love bushwalks. I really, really do. They really Like I feel so zen after a bushwalk, but it's been so long. And yeah, because I've got kids, the preparation to just get there, I just can't. But the spontaneity to be able to do what we want to do whenever the fuck we want to do it, spend our money the way we like, guilt free. Well, not guilt free. I've made plenty of guilty shopping choices in my past pre-kids, but the impact of that, I guess, wasn't so big. You know, you could go out after work and meet up with friends, and the only thing that you had to pre-organize was which bar you're going to go to and maybe how you're going to get home. There was no big process of like, okay, well, who's going to watch the babies and what do they need left behind and do I need to organize it? Like, there's just so much now that takes away our ability to be spontaneous. We could travel to wherever we want to as long as we could afford to. You could buy 50 plants if you felt like it on a Sunday and just spend the day decorating your outdoor area. Like, you could just spend your time on that stuff. You could go to soccer training 4 nights a week and that was your lifestyle and you could choose to do that. We also lost, I guess, a lot of the social relationships that we had, right? So when you had your baby, it was very difficult to socialize, especially in the early days, you know, for the first at least maybe few months. Maybe even more. Like, for me, it was a lot longer in the same way that we did before, right? We can't necessarily go to the same places with a baby. You're not going to go to a nightclub with a baby. You can't necessarily spend the same time with the same people because you guys have now different lifestyles. And can you even, in some cases, even rely on the friendships that you had before? I have seen so many posts online about women like talking about their friendships, right? But they're talking about the friendship that they once had with a woman who since had a baby. So this is the friend who doesn't have babies complaining about the woman who's now gone and had a baby and how she just no longer shows up. She no longer shows up for the friendship. She flakes on plans. She just can't show up like she used to. She doesn't seem to care as much as she did before. Now they're just sick of it. And so they've just decided, you know what? I'm going to put in as much effort as you. I know exactly what it feels like to be at the receiving end of that. I really do. And I think there's a big problem there. And I think that a lot of us who've had babies get that. We get that it's so hard to explain to someone who hasn't had a baby that it is all consuming. And for your friends to then ditch you is just the most painful thing. Unless you've had a baby and you've experienced a life where you're pretty much the main parent for the child, you're pretty much solely responsible for your entire home. You know, you've had months of no sleep. Your body is literally at the mercy of what a baby needs. You're basically tapped out, like you're mentally drained, you're emotionally exhausted. And I mean, this is a rabbit hole which I don't need to get into on this episode, but unless you've had that experience, you can't know what it feels like. And when you do, if you ever do, you will know that we were not coming from equal ends at that time. If you've not had a kid and you're going, I'm backing off because she flakes out or she's not like I promise you the effort that is needed to meet in the middle is not equal. The effort that a mum who's had a baby needs to take in order to meet you halfway is about 10 times, that's just a fucking random figure, but it's about 10 times the amount of effort you would have had to make to meet her halfway. If you love her, if she's your friend, then you might need to go the distance. You might need to go a bit further to meet her where she is. And that's like, I get that a friendship is a two-way street, right? I completely understand that. But at the end of the day, if you love your friend, you love her in the hard times as well. You love her and the new priorities that she's had to make in her life. You don't just love her when she's got time for you, right? If your friend has had a baby and you can't give her the grace to go a bit further than halfway, to understand that some things are extremely unpredictable. You might be expecting her to show up and she couldn't. She might have thought she'd be able to show up and she couldn't. If you can't give her the grace, maybe you need to check your friendship odometer, because I know for the people that I love, there are times where they've gone through such an emotional roller coaster that they just couldn't meet me halfway. And I wouldn't expect them to meet me halfway, even if I've not been in their shoes, even if I have no idea what their experience is. That's love, right? Anyway, that's not the point of this episode. I just get very sad about that because I know how many of us have the biggest isolator was the change in relationships before having kids to after having kids. And a lot of it has to do with either people's frustration with you and your circumstances or people's perception. Like they might not invite you because they think, yeah, well, she's busy now. She's not going to come, as if you're going to, come with a newborn to this environment. And it's just sad. It's just sad to not feel included. And it's sad that unless people live in your shoes, unless people have experienced what you've experienced, they just don't get it. So yeah, you're obviously having a baby, your social relationships change. The relationship with your partner changes too, because more often than not, conversations surround the baby. Your alone time, might be much less than what it was before. I know that my husband and I get much less alone time than we ever did before. And then when you do have alone time, a lot of it is just you choose to spend it resting because you're exhausted, not having fun or doing the stuff that, you used to do as a couple, for example. So much changes when you have a baby. The body you look at in the mirror, I know for me, right? You're beautiful and you should know it. And so am I. But that's a really awkward thing to say because for me, I really struggled to look in the mirror after having a baby for so long. I was at the mercy of the highlight reels. We all know this. I really drowned in that. Just simple things like you start to dress differently. As soon as you become a mum, your activities change, so your clothes change, right? I needed to be able to free my boobs at any given moment. So I'm not going to wear something that's going to stop me from doing that. I needed to do it. You do a lot more walking. You're chasing your kids around. We need to be comfortable. We're at home a lot. We're not really dressing up. We're not really seeing people. So the way that we present ourselves is completely different. We're not dressing to look and feel amazing anymore. All of these things were part of who we were, and all of these things change overnight. And I think a lot of us grieve these parts of our life, and that's why our sense of identity goes out the window. I dress different. I don't see the same people. I don't do the same things that I did. I don't have the same freedom that I used to have. Honestly, same. And I felt all of those things, and to some extent there are little specks of that still remaining with me. Let's just think about this for a second though. What if what we missed was not actually the things about us, the things that made us who we were necessarily? What if what we're grieving is not the activities that we used to do, but we're grieving the fact that we had it within our control to be always working on the life that we want? Part of it might be that we're actually grieving the opportunities that we had. We're limited in opportunities now, whereas before I didn't really have a sense of who I was then either, but I didn't dwell on it because my life was in my control. I don't think I maximized it necessarily, but my life was in my control. My life stopped being in my control from the moment I had a baby. Building the life that I wanted to build was the thing that I feel like I grieved more than the activities that I was doing beforehand. Let me hold the baby while you think about that for a second. Is that you? Do you actually miss going clubbing, dressing? I'm just referring to clubbing all the time because that's what I did a lot. Do you miss going out? Do you miss traveling? Of course we miss those things, but is it that you miss? Is that you? I mean, they're obviously fun activities to do, but are they the bits of you that have made you lost your identity? Or is it the fact that you no longer have the control over your time to be able to basically manifest the life that you want, the lifestyle that you want, because you feel like you're restricted in those opportunities? Like, you can't tell me that before you had kids, you were at the apex, right? You can't tell me that before our babies came along, we were like, yep, I'm fully fulfilled. Like, I'm exactly the person that I want to be, and that's it. There's no more growth needed. I definitely wasn't. But then once I had a baby, I had all this longing to be that person that, like, at the time I was like, yeah, meh, like I'm not necessarily at this apex in my life, but suddenly I can't be that person and I miss it so much and I grieve it. It doesn't make sense. I think there's so much more to that. And I think that's what we're missing. The opportunities, the ability to be in control, the ability to make the life that we want. Not that we had the life that we wanted, surely not. Like, yeah, elements of it, right? The freedom, the fact that clubbing, the fact that you went out clubbing meant that, yes, you had fun, but what about that is you? What about that is you at the essence is the fact that you were in control of your time and you chose the activity that you wanted to do with the people that you wanted to do it with, and you did something fun and a bit creative, let's say. It's not the you standing in a nightclub that's like, I have reached my, the apex in life. It's the you that was able to have this sense of control and autonomy over the life that you were living. I think that's what we really miss. Having kids halts that journey. Without the village, anyway, the village would allow us to keep our cups full, keep that sense of control over our lives a lot a lot higher. But without it, we suddenly get jolted. We'd suddenly go from full choice and control, autonomy, spontaneity, all that kind of stuff to bang. Your time is not in your control. Your bodily functions are not in your control. You have to, like I said previously, your ability to meet your basic needs are at the mercy of somebody else's free time. That's crazy. Absolutely crazy. We go to that from a life where you could basically navigate and do whatever you wanted with your time. So obviously there's going to be like this identity crisis, right? And then to add to that, not to mention the guilt of feeling this way, the guilt of missing an older version of your life or missing the previous version of yourself. Because obviously, what does that say about how I feel about my baby? If I'm sad that I can no longer be the me that I was before, then am I saying I regret having my baby? Fuck no. Like my babies are my universe. And I wouldn't change having them for a second. Does that mean that I didn't massively grieve the life that I had before? 100% I did. Our entire self now since having babies feels so unfamiliar that no wonder we all struggle with this sense that we've lost ourselves. Like it makes full logical sense why we would all be sitting here going, geez, who am I now that I'm a mum? Am I just a mum? That whole idea of like we're just mums. Really, there's no more to us. We're just mums. And that sounds horrible to say, but we're all sitting here thinking it. Like it can feel really shit. Even though I think we all go through this sense of like having lost ourselves, I don't want us to be doing that anymore. Like I'm a little bit over it. I'm over it in my life. I'm over it in your life. So I think we just need to change it. We just need to change it. I'll pour you another drink while you think about that. We need to change it because you're fucking amazing. You know that. The you that was you before you had a baby and the you that is you now are both fucking amazing, right? So let's just think about that. First, I want to say that I'll be surprised if you haven't heard of it, but I love the idea of framing stages in life as seasons. I love it. I think it's been obviously been done for a while now. Like I said, if you haven't heard of it, well, now you have. But the idea that you are currently living in a season, this is just a season we're living through, because what it implies is that, yes, you might be in the thick of it now, but when we talk about it, life stages in seasons, what we're implying is that the challenges that you're living are temporary. Seasons change. That just alone for me, especially when I had a newborn and I was like, oh, okay, I can never do anything again because I'm fucking drastic. I can never do anything again without a baby in my arms. I loved holding my baby, don't get me wrong. But I was also touched out, hot, flustered, sweaty, hormonal, and always carrying a baby either in a carrier or in my arms, doing everything single-handed. And in my mind somewhere, I forgot that that was temporary. I think I really suffered because I was like, I don't know if I can do this forever. I really that's when you miss your old self. That's when you miss the self that had the autonomy and the independence to do stuff, right? In a single shower where the baby's in a bouncer right outside the shower, screaming her head off because you've put her down for 10 seconds because she also is just as drastic as I am, or was. Actually, she still is. She was crying her head off, and here I am thinking I'll never have a nice shower again, like super dramatic. But I feel like the moment I started hearing about, it's just a season, you just kind of soften into tolerating the bits that are challenging, which I think then allows you to enjoy things a little bit more. So I think before we do anything else, let's just acknowledge if you're in the thick of it, it's a season and seasons change. They always do and they always will. They're temporary. Once we have faced this, once you face the fact that if you're in the thick of it, and when I refer to the thick of it as like, smack in the middle of newborn territory or a few months in, first or even second or third or fourth or however many babies you've got, but that period of time where basically the fourth trimester, that period of time where your baby is fully dependent on you to feed, to settle, to sleep, that whole lot. That is when your limbs are no longer your limbs. Your time is at the mercy of somebody else's. And in the system that we live in, isolated, depleted, very likely, all that kind of stuff. Once we have faced that this is a season in your life, that seasons will change, I think then we can really start to get back on track with the growth journey, the life that we were trying to build pre-baby, the things that we had injected into our life before we had our babies. So I think there is a way that we can totally honor our past self and continue our journey moving forward. Grieving our past self or honoring our past self, I think, are two different things. Loving and appreciating her for where she got you, admiring the things that she did, admiring the lifestyle that she was choosing to have, honoring her by continuing that journey. Because here's the things that made us feel like us, the things that, are so me coded, let's say, and the life that we were working towards pre-baby, those things we actually fully can inject back into our lives today, even if it's just elements of it, even if we're in the thick of it, even if we're struggling and going, how the fuck am I going to do more with my time? Absolutely, we can inject elements of it. The things that make us feel like us don't necessarily have to do with the activities that we were doing. Listen to that again. The things that make us feel like us, the stuff that makes you, doesn't necessarily have to do with the activities that you do day to day. Obviously, I would love to go out clubbing every now and then. I just mentioned my amazing weekend. That filled me up completely and that made me feel very me. But then again, I am older. Even without kids, if I go into that same environment now, the crowd is a little bit different. It's not 2010 anymore, lol. But there would still be an essence of me, even if I'm not necessarily doing the same activities that I was doing when I was younger or before I had kids. The things that make us us have more to do with autonomy. So when you have autonomy, again, it's having control over what we do, having control over your day, the ability to make decisions over the parts of your day which I guess are in your control. To have a sense of autonomy is not about choosing absolutely everything around you, right? It's not about choosing, like, I don't have money. I don't have a lot of money at all. I but I do have a sense of autonomy. Even though my money is very tight, I don't feel less autonomy because I have choices limited within that. I still have choices, is what I'm trying to say. So I do have a sense of autonomy, even though my wardrobe is not exactly how I want it to look. I would love to have completely new wardrobe and different clothes and all that kind of stuff. But I do have autonomy over, to use my current wardrobe as I wish. I do have autonomy. I just need to find it within the limitations that are my life at the moment. Other things that make us feel like us is having a sense of competence, being good at what we do, being known for being good at something. When we do things that we're good at and we master our skills and we're constantly spending time on those things, you kind of become your own little project, right? You go to soccer training 3 times a week. Doesn't make you a soccer champion and the next runner up for the Matildas, but maybe that identity is formed around this fact that you're always working towards mastering something that you're good at, and that is that reminds you of your competence, that reminds you of your dedication. For example, another thing that makes us feel us is recognition. When you're recognized for the things that you do, for your ideals, your opinions, what you sprinkle into the world, and not just in relation to who you are to someone else. So I think that's where a lot of us get lost or get a bit trapped in the, like, I'm just a mum now, because we get recognized as someone's mum the moment you have a baby. And that's a fact. Like, it happens. But the moment you have a baby, people literally bypass you to greet the baby and you are no longer interesting. When you are recognized, you're recognized for you, for being the you that you are, and not in relation to somebody else. The other thing that makes you is how you express yourself, your creativity, how you dress, how you speak, how you present yourself to the world, your space, your home, the music that you listen to, how you put yourself out there, and how you express your thoughts, your ideas, your creative energy. And these are the things that make us feel like us. These are the things that are present in a village, right? In a village, also, we're seeing other women expressing themselves in all those ways. We're recognizing them for what they bring to the table. They have a sense of autonomy. They're competent. They're known for being good at what they're good at. They're being, for what they bring to the table. And they're able to, express their own interests. And I think that's, in a village, we're able to see women living that life while being mothers, while having children. And in a village, they are also taught to carry those parts of themselves over into being a mum. I'm not saying it's easy, definitely not. Like, if I was to go and say, so go and inject a bit more creativity in your life, it's definitely not easy. And especially when a village is not how we operate. A village is not how our society is set up. We're not set up in a way that allows us to prioritize our competence, our skill development, our creativity. But we deserve to prioritize them. We absolutely should. I promise you, if we find a way to prioritize them, you're going to be better off. You're going to be a better woman for it overall, but you're also going to be a better mum as a result. We just need to ask ourselves how we can prioritize these things. How can we start, for example, prioritizing autonomy? How can we take the parts of our day that we do have control over and make decisions about them that benefit us? Let's say we don't have freedom to get up whenever we want to, go to the gym whenever we feel like it, or socialize whenever we want to. But are we choosing to use our time on our needs? I mentioned recently intentionally dropping the ball, and that I know how horrible that can feel. I know how weird it can feel to just be like, I am ditching this. Not my problem. Not my circus, not my monkeys. And what's much more important is my needs. It feels wrong and it feels selfish and self-centered. But my God, it is an essential skill to be able to drop the ball on purpose, I believe, as a mum, because you need to know how to put yourself first. Trust me, you don't need to be on top of the laundry. You don't need to be on top of it. If you're actually choosing to do something for you instead, I promise that laundry pile, firstly, it's not going to go away. It may, someone else may see it and go, well, maybe I need to bring it down a few levels. But if you prioritize your own needs, that laundry pile that's not going anywhere, anytime soon, actually becomes more tolerable anyway. So it's a win-win, right? You get your needs met. And I used to really struggle with this. When people would say to me, just stop, forget about the house, don't worry about it, go out for a bit or do something nice with your friends or whatever. I was in a constant cycle of like, no, I got to stay on top. The moment I drop the ball, everything crumbles. It's going to crumble. It's going to fucking crumble. It is. It always is. There are humans living here. Everyone's busy. Everyone's doing their thing. I ended up in a default position where I was kind of like, well, I better stay on top of everything in my home. Da, 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 da. And I just drowned myself in it for no reason. The thousands of times I have reorganized a space to make it more livable are thousands of hours that I could have spent on my health, my fitness, my creative goals, because I'm still here in a fucking mess, right? It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. The fun loophole here is that when you actually drop the ball to focus on your own needs, the mess that you thought you couldn't tolerate, which is why you were dedicating all your time and energy into it, becomes much more tolerable. I can handle it now. Like, I'm so busy doing my thing that I'm like, oh, fuck, there goes the laundry again. Oops, close the door. Who cares? It will get done. And if it doesn't, if you're not fully on top of it, who fucking cares? You need to move some of the so-called non-negotiables into the negotiable pile. If you make a list of things in your day that are non-negotiable, guarantee you, next time we catch up, you're going to tell me actually some of those things were negotiable. I was just being stubborn. Guarantee you. You will survive if the only thing that comes in and out of the washing machine today is your kid's school uniform ready for tomorrow and a few undies because you slacked off on, undie washing. I don't know. You will survive. It's okay. It's totally fine. Everyone in your family will be fine. Your kids will be happy and healthy, and the rest can be done another time. If you can, take the time to find something that is for you, your own outlet. And what I'm saying is be creative. Find something creative in whatever that looks like for you. Learn something new. Start a fucking TikTok account and learn about how to edit videos. Doesn't matter, right? That will potentially turn into something for you, even if it's just a creative outlet, even if it's not about blowing up on social media, but it's just a creative outlet. Or the fact that you've learned to edit videos might make you realize, oh, actually, this is actually really fun. I never thought myself as techie, but hey, I'm doing this and I'm doing it well. Maybe that can turn into something for you. Make music, bake, write, draw, paint, build, go out, do some gardening, anything, knit a scarf. Doesn't matter. Anything that feels creative and anything that feels like you, because creativity is such a key into tapping into who you are. And if you make the space for it in your life, you can find autonomy in that. You can build competence in that. You can start to create bubbles of time within your life where this is your thing. This is entirely your thing. you have full say, full drive, full ownership over this thing that is your creative project. You might start to get recognition even for that. And 100% you're going to find yourself through creative expression. I fully believe that. Creativity gives you a mirror, right? You actually start to see the you that you are reflected in the creative work that you've done. Like I said, even if it's making music, even if it's, painting, whatever it is, being creative is a way to actually show yourself who you are. I want to share what's happened to me over the past few months, and I've never felt more me. I've never felt more me, not even before having kids. And this is why I want to talk about it, because this whole thing of having lost myself with kids, this was this is more me than I've ever been before. And that's because I've given myself the permission to just get fucking creative and tap into something that really feels like me, stuff that I never did before. I have found my creative outlet. I spend my time doing the things that I love, and I'm working on them whenever I've got a free pocket of time, whenever I have a chance. And yes, it's at the cost of other things in my home. My family's healthy and safe. It's okay. I'm now treating my creative interests like my work, and I'm also expecting those around me to treat it like my work as well. When mummy's headphones are on, she's working. Not that everyone respects that, but my expectations are that that's how we're going to treat it from now on. In my little creative world, I have full autonomy. I have even written myself a strategic plan. Not that I know how to do one, but anyway, a marketing plan also. Not that I know exactly how to do one. But I'm working on my own terms, and it's pretty fucking magical. I have to say, like, it feels pretty amazing to be able to treat something creative as important as a job, especially for me, because like I said earlier, I used to have this sense of obligation around doing work that was charitable and for others and all this stuff, which it's fantastic and it's beautiful, but I never allowed myself to treat anything creative seriously for that reason. So when I'm talking about my creative goals and interests, what I'm referring to is I'm fully dedicated into this podcast and into my YouTube channel. If you haven't gone over to my YouTube channel, if you're watching here, hello. But if you're listening and you haven't come over to my YouTube channel, Lorena Van Des, you'll find me pretty easily. And it's all about the time that I'm spending planning and editing and creating this work, the messaging that I want to give to you, which I'm just obsessed with. And yeah, there's just so much creativity that goes into it, so much more than I ever imagined. And I'm honestly obsessed. It's honestly become the new version of me, but it's not a hyperfixation, because I've gone past that point. I've dedicated myself so hard that it's not like a short-term hobby that I'm like, yep, okay, typical Lorena, spend 5 minutes on it, have a great idea, and then off we go. And then it fizzles out. I've treated it so seriously that it's the new me. It really is. I am more flat out than ever before. My house, like I said, is messier than it ever has been, but my cups are so full that I can totally tolerate, things not being ideal in the home. I can totally tolerate some more chaos around, because chaos is happening because I'm, spending more time on something creative rather than trying to keep systems and, things in place so that my life is settled. This is the thing, I used to prioritize that over this. I used to prioritize having systems in place, being really organized, thinking that I would eventually get to a point where all of those parts of my life would be structured. I have ADHD, by the way. Like, I thought that would help me, and obviously if I were to ever get to the point of being organized with systems and all that stuff, of course it would help me. But I was spending too much time on trying to work out how to do that rather than putting my energy on the things that I want to do with my life. And if I have spare time, work on systems. I was doing it the other way around. I was like, dedicate your life to systems, which I never fucking did anything with, but dedicate your life to cleaning and tidying and hoping that one day you're going to have a process for making lunches easier for school, having breakfasts run much more smoothly, having being on top of the laundry, all this stuff. And if you've got spare time, creative pursuits, like, no, it's the other way around. Sorry. My cups are full. I am not even desperate for alone time anymore. I used to be so desperate for a minute to myself. I was touched out. I was hanging out for just mummy time. I don't crave that anymore. I'm not desperate for that time because my cups are so much more full. So my kids will stay up with me now. They don't, like, yes, ideally they go into bed at a decent time, but that's more for them. That's more because I'm like, fuck, they were really grumpy this morning. Maybe we need to get to bed earlier tonight. But they will stay up with me now. And I'm a little bit selfish around how we use that time, because I'm like, yeah, it's still adult. I call it adult o'clock. If you're going to stay up during adult time, you're going to watch what mummy wants to watch, and it's not going to be dictated by kids' interests. So no, there's no spreading of toys around. We're not going to be watching Gabby's Dollhouse at 9 o'clock at night. No, thank you. I want to continue to be filling my cup. And that might sound really selfish, but it is adult time in my eyes. So yes, you can stay. We have snuggles. We spend a lot of time together. I'm not desperate for them to get to bed. We just hang out now, and it's really, really nice. And I enjoy their company better because I'm not rushing them off to bed. They go to bed when they're ready. And again, sometimes we need to make that a little bit earlier because they don't know when they're ready. I spent so much of my time when my babies were newborns trying to get my home in order, trying to, find a break, trying to find me time, that I didn't really imagine spending any of my time this way. And I know, like, I did work on my podcast. You would have heard it. So there were, I think, a few episodes where you even heard my son crying in the background. And those were the pockets of time where I really felt me. I was like, wow, I've got something to say, and I'm sharing it, and I'm prioritizing that over other things. But I just didn't realize how important it was for me to be doing more of that, and that it was more important than always having a home cooked meal, that it was more important than always having the laundry down to zero. I didn't realize how important that was. So I had pockets of it, but I didn't take it. I didn't run with it. And I also didn't take time. I waited to be gifted the time. So I would work on my podcast if I happened to find an opportunity during the week where someone's watched the kids, so I could plan an episode. And then I would, more often than not, I'd be recording at 10 o'clock at night while my kids were asleep, hoping that they're not going to wake up. Like, it was very slotted into life. Whereas now, the way I think about my time has shifted. My work just has to get done. And if it doesn't, I'm worse off and my kids are worse off. And it doesn't feel like pressure because it's creative. It feels fun. I'm drawn to it. It just feels really good. But I think that takes a bit of practice. I want the best for you. I really do. And I know it can be hard to listen to this. I know, especially when you're in the thick of things and we're sitting here and, you might be rolling your eyes at me going, come on, when the fuck am I going to have time for this? Like, I can't even brush my teeth. When the fuck are you expecting me to have time for this? I know, I did too. Like I said, I would prioritize everything in my home over those things. Everything. I posted actually something on TikTok the other day, a little bit similar. And I had someone commenting in all caps, I don't know what fills my cup, and I'm not willing to waste my time trying to work it out and then getting it all wrong. In other words, I have no idea where to start, and I don't have the time to even start experimenting. And I get it. I get it because I was the same. How can I start? Like, if I'm going to sit down to just have a moment to myself, am I going to really start going, what's going to fill my cup right now? Like, no, I get it. But then under that comment came a beautiful, conversation between her and someone else who had suggested the artist's way, which, if you're not familiar with, please go and check it out. It is basically a beautiful way of unlocking the creativity in you, and in ways that you didn't know that you could. And it's a whole process, and it's really beautiful. So please go check out the artist's way. But that conversation started going, and then the person who had originally commented going, I just can't waste my time trying to work it out, ended up saying something along the lines of, like, I have gone down a rabbit hole on TikTok seeing how it's changed people's lives, and this is just so exciting. So if you don't know where to start, if you don't know, how to bring back some creativity, because this is the thing, we are all creative. Human beings are creative. It's part of being human. We all were creative as kids in one way or another, right? It might be building, it might be drawing, it might be painting, it might be singing, but we all have it in us somewhere. And I think what happens is, over time, it gets tapped out of us because we don't see the immediate value in it. And we see more of the value in work and in earning money and in doing tasks that we see results in. But our creative juices are there. We just need to wake them up. So it's completely worth spending your time exploring, and worth it for you and for your kids and for your relationship. Creativity is your essence. It is the you that that is you inside. Please go and fill your cup and prioritize you. So here, mama, take some leftovers. I love you to pieces, and I'll see you next week. Bye.